Thank you. I think that's the first thing I got to say is thank you for having me.
Happy to have you, man. It's been so far a good weekend. So hopefully finish up strong tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely. And for you, you've done a lot. You've already accomplished a lot that coaches wish they could accomplish. I mean, Coach of the Year, national champion, multiple time ACC champion. I mean, where do we start with you? Should we start at the beginning, or how did you
wherever you want?
Also, I have to say Hall of Famer too at Western Illinois.
Yeah.
So let's start. How'd you get into tennis, first of all?
Yeah, so I actually, my parents are Czech immigrants to Canada, and started out playing more soccer. Was a very, very late tennis starter.
Okay.
Don't come from a tennis family by any means, and just I think when I started tennis when I was 13, which for a tennis player is
very late.
Very late.
Yeah.
Didn't play a tournament. I think my first tournament was when I turned 14.
Okay.
Or like under 14s. So started playing tournaments there. Just fell in love with the sport. Went out to the park with my dad, and like I said, very, very competitive soccer player, and thing I liked about tennis was just the individual aspect of it.
Yeah.
The fact, I love being on a team and played a bunch of high school sports and team sports, but I always hated losing as a team just because I felt like you had less control. So, the greatest part about tennis is, if you really have perspective on it, is that, there's no excuses. There's no one to blame but yourself, So if you want to win and you want to be great, you work for it and go do it. And, if you lose, you lose, and you really can't put the blame on anyone else. So.
And for you too, how did you get into coaching? Because obviously you played college tennis now, Hall of Famer as a college tennis player. How did you get into coaching? Yeah,
so never really thought about coaching as a profession.
Oh, really?
No, absolutely not. That's good perspective for kids when they're thinking about what they want to study. So, I came to the U.S. on tennis scholarship. This way back before the internet and any information out there. So did all the send videos like on the VHS and letters and all that stuff. And so ended up going to Western Illinois, and I played there for 4 years, and I did an undergrad in accounting. Didn't know what I really wanted to study, and again, parents, hey, study something you can have a good, secure job in. And my senior year, I'm studying for the CPA. I'm in a class, and I'm sitting there about 4 hour a night class. Halfway through the class, I have no notes. This handwritten notes back in the day, and I was like, okay, I'm out of here. I can't do this. And I had a buddy of mine at the time who was over at Indiana State, and we played Indiana State my senior year, and he said their coach was going to be looking for a grad assistant. Okay. And so he got us in touch, and Brian Boland is his name. I'm sure you heard of him, And so, he decided he was going to hire me. So I was like, okay, I went and did an MBA, and wasn't thinking about, I was grad assistant. So it was, kind of part-time deal. And that's where I first started coaching. And I loved it, but I still, undergrad accounting, master's in business, you're not sitting there going, you want to be a coach. Yeah. You're sitting there, I'm going to work in business. I'm going to work in finance. And then I did that. I got a job in Indianapolis working in finance, spent 6 months telling myself I liked it. The next 6 months trying to figure out what the hell I was going to do with my life, because I was like, I'm not doing this. I was in there one Friday evening. I was probably supposed to be doing paperwork, or looking at the market or something like that. And I'm watching live college scores. And, I think we were supposed to come in the next morning. And, I grabbed my stuff, looked around, was like, never coming back here again. And that was it. Wow. That was it, yeah.
It's a good realization, right?
It was a good realization, yeah. I just knew...
Your epiphany moment.
Yeah, I just knew I wasn't going to be happy doing that, So try to figure out what I was going to do. And I ended up going to Europe to do this thing called Tennis Europe. It was like a 6 week deal where you take kids, and I was like, still, I had just finished. I was like, okay, I'll go do that for fun. I met this great kid over there named Jimmy Bass, who was going to Notre Dame, and he had a younger brother who was a very good player, Stephen Bass, and so I was trying to figure out what to do, and they kind of asked me if I wanted to be his full-time coach going into his junior year, and so I went and met them, and so I did that moved to New York and worked with him for about 8-9 months there, and that was great. And then Brian, who was the head coach at Indiana State, got the UVA job, and offered to hire me there, and that was my real start in college coaching. Okay,
and what was your first thought when you started coaching on that level at Virginia?
Yeah, to be honest, it wasn't any different than it was at Indiana State. I mean, we had some great teams at Indiana State. We were 17 in the country my second year there. You know, my first year at UVA, we were coming off a year where Brian's first team there was not top 75. They were awful. And my first year we were 45. So it was no different. I mean, it was actually probably a half step down to what we had been used to, but you know, we had a lot of work to do and a lot of building to do, and you know, obviously built that program into what it is today, which is
absolutely
one
powerhouse.
of the best, one of the best programs in the country. And obviously, Brian continued to do a great job there, and Andres is doing a great job now. But from the time we got there, we had 3 indoor courts and a bubble, and not a full endowment of scholarships. We're working on 3.5, and no history, no tradition, and but a great product to work with, and so we did a good job building that up.
And it's amazing to see where you've gone to, because you went to, and correct me if I'm wrong in doing this, Indiana State, Virginia, Cornell, and now here.
Yeah.
So between that UVA to here, that coming back to the ACC, tell us a little bit about during your time at Cornell. What did you learn as a coach there? Yeah,
I mean, obviously first head coaching job, so it's always a different kind of pressure from being an assistant to head coach. Loved my time at Cornell. We had great group, great kids. We won the Ivy League for the first time in school history with, like I said, a great group. I think we were 9-0 in 4-3 matches that year. So just crazy. Couldn't find a way to lose a close match. So knock on wood. So that was fun. An amazing experience, and winning the Ivy League title, I know for those kids and for me at the time, was an amazing accomplishment. So that was great. And I didn't really go there with the intention of saying, okay, I'm going to go there for a year and move on. But it was interesting because I had, at the time, my volunteer assistant there was a guy named Corey Parr, who played here. And I had gotten to know Corey from the time I was doing USTA summer team, and obviously in the ACC. And so he was kind of our part-time volunteer there, and then he was still playing. And so him and another former player of mine at UVA, Tread Huey, got a wild card here to the ATP event, which was in its first year. And so Corey said, hey, why don't you come down and coach us? And I was like, great, sure. Like, it was before we started at Cornell. Like, sure, I'll do that. Why not? And so I got here, and as soon as I got here, he comes running up. He's like, hey, Zinner, who's the head coach here at the time, just took the job at Penn State. You got to go for the job. And, I walked in here, and I remember every time we came in here, the facility was on campus. They had 5 courts there. And I remember always rolling in here thinking, oh, this school's beautiful. This place is awesome. But their facility was just okay. 5 courts. It was a cool location on campus, but you had that, and then you had the 8 here, which 8 here was great, but it's always, when it's not beside each other, it's not good. I rolled in here, and they had the ATP event going on, and it was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. You had, I was hitting with those guys, had Isner hitting on the court beside us, and the stadium and the fans, and I was like, this, you can win at the high. Yeah, you can feel it. You can win at the highest level here, and so obviously I was interested in pursuing the job, and I was lucky enough they decided to hire me.
And you've been here for 12 years?
This is my 12th year, yep.
12th year.
Yep.
And you've had some incredible years, I have to say. I mean...
We have, yeah.
So if you were to describe your 2018 season, which is the year you won the national championship, how would you... If you were to describe it in one word, what would it be?
You just feel grateful for, you look back at it, you just feel grateful for everything we accomplished. I mean, we basically... I think to win at that level, we won everything you could possibly win almost. I mean, in national indoors, ACC regular season, ACCs, NCAAs at home on our courts, and then having 2 guys in the final of NCAAs on our home courts is just, it's a storybook, kind of tale. Kind
of the golden season.
Yeah, exactly. And, obviously we had a great team, but, everything has to come together, and you have to, we had one of our key players, German guy Christian Seraphim, who had a hernia midway through the year, and it just so happened that there was a specialist, like the world's best specialist in hernia surgeries, at home in Germany, and we were able to get him in so he had surgery. Usually hernia recovery is about 2.5 months, 2 months, if you have surgery.
How fast was it?
He was 2.5 weeks. Yeah, so he got that done towards the end of the season. He was able to play in ACCs, NCAAs. I mean, he clinched our semifinal match against Texas A&M. It was a great doubles player. So just stuff like that, you think about, just fortunate to have it all come together and on our home courts. I mean, the final was unbelievable day, beautifully warm. I think we had I don't know what it was, like 2,500 people here, which I think it's unheard of for a college tennis match. We had people standing on top of the football stadium over there to watch the match. I mean, doubles point was a joke. You can imagine, 2,000 people on your home court
screaming.
You couldn't hear anything. It was wild, and it was just, amazing year.
It's one of those things that, and I look around your office, I look around Chris's office, who's been with you for some time now, and seeing kind of, not memorabilia, but all the recollection and the memory of that season too. It's quite something, because I feel like if you ask anyone in college tennis, I should say, like what was a perfect team to win a national title, I think they would say your team in 2018.
Yeah, it really, like we said, it really came together that year. A couple key additions and the depth and the guys at the top and the leadership we had, and it was like we said, it was ton of fun, and it was a great group of guys to do it with, and they deserved it. They worked for it. Yeah,
absolutely. And for you too, kind of getting into your coaching style as well. When did you develop your coaching on court and coaching each player? How did you develop that?
Yeah, probably just at when I first started at Indiana State. I think it's just kind of figuring out what works. I think we, in many ways, every program has a different philosophy. We run a very individualized program, and that, I think the top guys we recruit, we're trying to recruit guys that want to play pro tennis. And, I absolutely love the team aspect of college, but, I still feel like tennis is a very individual game. So, you have to figure out what works for each guy, what their style is going to be, what they need physically, what they need mentally, how hard they need to be pushed, what kind of coach you need to be for them. So it's, it's always a puzzle, as a coach. You're always trying to figure out how you can be the best coach for each guy you have.
And for you, developing, how would you describe yourself on court with the guys?
I think, again, it very much depends on which guy.
Okay.
I think trying to figure out, like, some guys I need to be a little bit harder on. Some guys you have to kind of let them roll. Some guys have a better idea of what they need on a daily basis in practice. Some guys you need to say, hey, look, like, this is something we gotta fix and we gotta work on, or this is your strength. This is, we got to build on this. So, I think on court, try to keep it easy going and try to keep it fun. It is supposed to be fun, but at the same time, we're kind of on a mission. We have a plan of what we want with each guy and what we're trying to accomplish every day.
What's the hardest part about coaching individually during a match?
During a team match?
Like during I saw you play Louisville. I've kind of seen you in your element before we did this interview. Yeah. So what's one thing that you take from, or what's one challenge that you have on court coaching multiple guys? I think the hardest
part is for, when you're as competitive as we are, it's the realization that once the match starts, no matter how hard you try or what you do, you have very little control of the outcome. So it's funny. I've always said this from back when I played to when I started coaching. I'm always way, way more tired after I coach than when I played, because you're constantly, like, it's not that you don't use your brain when you play. Yeah. But, you're sweating and you have control, as a coach. You want to help your guys so bad, and you're very, you get the scouting reports before the match, and you're looking for tendencies, and you're trying to find a way to keep your guy positive, and everything you can say to them or do to help them. But, if you're being realistic, your work is done way before then. So it's on the practice courts, it's in the recruiting process, it's on a daily basis, how you interact with them, keeping them healthy, motivated, getting better. Once the match starts, that's the hardest thing, I think, is just, trying to just chill and let the boys do what they do in that moment.
And kind of going off of that comment too, because when we talk about the 2018 season, having two guys play the final that you coach, playing Petros and Borna, playing against each other in a NCAA singles final, how do you coach that? Because I feel like you can't say anything.
Oh, we didn't. I mean, it was. Look, I think that was the culmination of the year, and it's probably a big reason why we did win it, because those born on Petros, they're just the greatest guys, right? So I mean, they both won tough semifinal matches, and the emotion of making it to the finals and knowing that one of us was going to win on our home courts was great. And then meeting with them after, and both of them basically saying, "Hey, is it okay if we don't play the final?" They didn't want to play. They were
really,
they were just like, "Hey, let's just split it." They did. They were. I mean, they were playing for us as coaches, for the team, for the university, for our fans.
So they,
they again, of course, both being foreign guys, so they knew they weren't playing for the wild card.
Yeah.
Having said that, I told them, look, there's a ton of prestige in an NCAA title.
Yeah.
It's something that you'll remember forever. But they were very happy to not play. So
really?
The NCAA wouldn't allow us to do that. They said that you had to play. There had to be a winner. I don't know if it's true. I don't know what they can do realistically. If they both said, we're hurt, we're not playing. Do you give it to the person who was third? I doubt you could do that, but that's what they kind of told us.
Okay.
And so we just we had breakfast that day and we said, look, it's been a great year. I know and they were both tired. They were both beat up physically.
Exhausted from.
It's 14 days in a row, or not 14 days in a row, but it's about a 2 week. Yeah, it's about a 2 week thing. They played a lot and they left a lot of emotion and energy out there. We just said, look, it was raining that day, so it also got moved indoors. You're like, just go play. Don't worry over. Don't overthink about it. And so they did, and it was an odd match. I mean, there's no emotion in it. No energy. The crowd didn't know who to cheer for. We probably had 1,000 people here as well, and they were just watching. And,
they were just confused.
It was two great guys, but it was just different because there was no, there wasn't that competitive fire in there. I think they both handled it amazingly.
I think for them too, it's just it's a core memory for them. Yeah. And competing against one another is just one of the hardest things that you can do, because you know each other's games so well. Yep. So did you and Chris split who was talking to each one, or did you?
Oh, no, we didn't talk. We sat in the stands.
Oh, so no coaching at all?
Oh, no. We talked to them before. We were like, look, enjoy the moment, enjoy playing for the fans and have fun. And, and they were like,
figure it out.
Yeah. And we were like, yeah, go play. Yeah, no, we weren't on their courts at all.
And again, thank you for allowing me to be here and be a part of your program for this weekend. I actually had a surprise because I reached out to Noah Rubin, Borna, and Petros to all talk about you. Awesome. I asked them what you brought to their game that they use today. And I think the first one I have to go with is from Petros, who said, ask about Bresky closed the door on Skander's finger on the car door before a match. Can you tell us that?
Yes. Yeah. So 2017 NCAAs, we're at Athens, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Win our round of 16 match. Great. You get the day off between. So we got quarters coming up. We were the number 1 seed at the time. Having a great year. And so Skander, I think we had a minivan. And so he's in the kind of middle row, and he gets out. We get out of the van. We're going to practice the next day. Light hit, hour and a half, something like that. Just hour 15. And he puts his hand, I don't know, for some reason, kind of on the door, and I close it. I didn't slam it, but I close the door. Usually you don't think about. Yeah, you're worried about your own hands. Yeah.
Yeah, you close the door. Well, of course you're not going to know.
Yeah, and so anyway, so it got his finger, and I mean right away it just blew up. It was bloody and bruised and blue and black, and he couldn't bend it, and I'm like, okay, we go to practice, and he couldn't hit. Luckily it was his left hand, but he couldn't hit backhands at all. Okay. So he's out there hitting one-handers, and his one-hander's no good, so that was going to be no good. And so I'm like, okay, hey, you want me to take you to our trainers there, but they're like, God, it might be broken. We'll see. You want to go to the hospital? He's like, nah, I'll be fine. Don't worry, I'm going to win. This is the day before, and I'm like, well, you couldn't hit backhand, so okay. And took some drugs, and one of the tougher guys I've ever had. If not the toughest, and went out and won his dubs and singles the next day.
That's incredible.
Absolute animal.
That's incredible. Yeah, I feel like not many people. If I didn't ask Petros, I never would have known. I don't think.
He didn't even make a big deal of it. He was just, you think he'd be like getting it all taped up. No, he just toughed it out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so Petros said that story. The two guys in the singles final. Noah Rubin told me. He said thank him for teaching me how to compete. He told me that you really changed his perspective in believing himself. And then he also said, ask him how much gum he chews.
Yeah, that's another one. That's funny coming from Noah, because Noah was obviously like one of the best competitors I've ever had.
Yeah.
You know, so that was, you know, I appreciate that, but I think he had that one pretty well figured out.
Yeah.
As far as the gum, yeah, it's a full pack a match.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, it's a pack of like the black, you know, squares. Yeah, it's a full pack a match. They last probably about, you know, each, I go by twos. They probably last less than 5 minutes. And then I roll them into a ball during the match and hold that. That's one of my superstitions.
I love that.
Yeah, I've been going forever.
So every match you've done a pack of gum.
Every match is a pack of gum, yeah.
Since 2011 or since Indiana State.
It's been probably since my Virginia days, yeah.
I'm gonna have to calculate how many matches that is.
It's a lot of gum.
It's a lot of gum. How is your jaw not falling off?
I'd like to have that money back, actually. So, you know, they're going for almost $2 a pop now. So.
Oh, jeez. And I think the last one I heard from, I was surprised Borna even got back to me. But Borna says that you two still keep in touch to this day.
All the time, yeah. I'd say, I mean, at least on a weekly basis, you know, if not more. You know, obviously, you know, he's having some great success. He's on the verge of the top 100. We're hoping he's going to be there, you know, within the next month or two here. No points to defend till the French Open. So, yeah, Borna's a great guy, great friend. You know, I'm sure we'll keep in touch for the rest of our lives.
And the consistent word I'm using that I've heard from everyone, not just former players, but players on your team right now, is the word compete. How you teach everyone how to be the fiercest competitor, how to compete not just on the court, but as a team player. I think Noah was telling us about how he's been kind of filling his role as a great teammate, how he's kind of as a volunteer assistant in terms of that. And how do you teach someone to compete consistently? Because I feel like everyone has been using that word for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think you do it a lot by example.
Okay.
You know, like just your daily actions. I mean, you know, I think you try to, when you have team meetings, individual meetings, you know, you have to be honest with them and be able to, you know, give them praise when they deserve it and also give them criticism when the time calls for it, you know? So, but I think it just, you know, it's the way you carry yourself, your actions, you know. I think the guys see how hard you work, you know, the way you go about things, you know, the process of getting better, the process of competing, you know, and I think they just learn from that over time, you know, and obviously, look, you do get to, especially the top guys, you do spend a lot of time with them because you're going to tournaments together and, you know, just the preparation for matches, you know, the expectation, you know, when you talk about matches, you know, or you talk about pro tennis, you know, and you watch matches, stuff like that, you know, just say, hey, look, like, you know, you're up 3-0, 30 love, and you went first ball miss, you know, middle of the doubles alley, you know, you're like, look, you just didn't care. You weren't that concentrated, you know, and they're like, well, they're like, no, there's no but. You just, you know, it's like you just have to, you know, you have to be a better competitor in that situation, you know? And I think it's just little things like that.
Well, that's interesting that you've been able to notice that, at least, just that little snippet of getting your players not to overthink it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a lot, it's harder being said than done.
Yeah.
In that way. So how do you project that onto a player? Do you just talk them out of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's constant, you know, it's the individual work you do, you know, where, like I said, we're trying to develop guys who want to be pros, so we do a lot of our work individually. You know, I think we put a little bit more emphasis on the individual practices than team practice. Like, team practice is great, you know, we're together, point play. It's the best thing is you get so many great players to play with, but the time you're going to really get, you know, some really quality feedback is when it's, you know, 9 a.m. and you don't have class till noon and you're on the court with me and Chris for an hour and a half and we're going to say, okay, hey, look, second serve, you know, forehand return has to get better, you know, because you missed 2 last match and, you know, you want to be a pro. Pros don't miss second serve returns. So, you know, we're going to hit you 100 serves and we're going to concentrate and we're going to focus on it and just things like that, you know, and that's time, you know, and you're sitting there and that's when you have time to really talk to guys and kind of develop that relationship.
So what would your definition of success be?
For myself, for the
Yes.
team, for
No,
players?
For you. If I just said define success, what's the first thing that would come to mind?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I think hopefully we're there. We're living it. You know, I think
Okay.
it's for me. I think I try to keep really good perspective on, you know, this job. I think I try to appreciate the opportunity to coach here at this great university and college tennis, the kids we have. Obviously, I'm super appreciative of my family, you know, wife and 2 kids. I think that's what kind of drives me probably more so than any individual success, is just to be, you know, a great husband, father. And I think then that in turn hopefully helps make you a great coach. And so, yeah, just trying to live it every day.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it.